WooGs here. I decided to make this video. I really wanted to try this class out. Actually, I got influenced a little bit by Stoic and Cucks who were doing this on hardcore. They were building one up, and I was testing it on Pluggy, and I just remembered playing Pokes on back like season 5 or 6, and it was a lot of fun. So when it was working in Pluggy, I thought, okay, let's see if we can make this, this work on live. So I spent the last like 2 or 3 days here just gathering the gear, leveled up Zon yesterday, and just grabbed the final pieces today, and decided to go in at it. You know, there wasn't a lot of Zons done for Rathma Tier 2. Some Plague, I think, and a Cold Zon was what we had so far, which is what we typically see. It's kind of difficult to do much else for Rathma. Pokes on, jab is what I mean by pokes on. This used to be really popular before early days because you can just phase skip before they disabled that because it just does so much damage so quickly. But since now they disabled that, you got to fight everything. It kind of lost a little flavor because it does do really bad at decrep. You need quite a bit of IS to kind of balance through that. So you'll see that in the later phases, but it's honestly a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. I do wish, when I was doing Pluggy practices, I was just practicing phase 3. I didn't take my own advice, so going into phase 1 here, I had not really done this much, so I'd kind of make some bad moves, in my opinion, because I wasn't really used to, how it kind of plays with dodging the Spire. Now, when you're in your animation, you can't get interrupted, but you also can't really cancel it, so you kind of get stuck sometimes if you want to dodge a spear. If you're at the beginning of your jab animation, you can't really move, so you're also going to deal with that with the spears in phase 2 and 3, so you'll see here I try to stop a little bit early when I see it coming. But also you can see there I do enough damage that he never really gets to Poison Nova, which is obviously quite nice. I brought antidotes, but I guess I didn't need them at all. You see, I'm just walking into spires here, which is not good. Luckily, I have enough cold res that makes that okay, but you really should be able to dodge most of these spires, if not all. And what you need to do on a class like this, where you can't immediately move from men down because you have like an animation, is you want to actually force the spires, so you can kind of run in and force the 4 to shoot and then take a step back and then go back in, and then you'll have the full timer until the next shoots, which you can time out, so you can kind of stop attacking then. So it is risky because if you time it wrong, you're going to hit by 4 spires, and no matter what your res is, you're dead. So I would say if you have a lot of practice, that's the right way to go, but otherwise just do what I'm kind of doing here, which is just doing your best to kind of circle around as you see them come out. You're not going to be able to dodge really every spire because you'll end up having the golems make it to him, or you'll end up phasing. Rathma let him do, or sorry, Mendel letting him do his Poison Nova, so it's not really worth it. You kind of have to time what makes sense. That was kind of a bad step out there to kind of get hit by that. But you can see we have a lot of pots left. The cube isn't dropped yet, and we still have quite a bit in the inventory, so you could definitely just overpot that, and it would be okay. I probably forgot to BO there. Now, one thing that I'm pretty sure how jab works back from the old days is you can't get interrupted by like FHR or knockback, these kinds of things, but if you dodge or evade, that animation takes priority over your jab, so you can kind of get stuck in a large crowd and not be able to actually jab or do anything. So that's why you'll see like in a big crowd it's taking forever to kind of burst them down, but melee splash should clear it quickly. But if you're constantly dodging that in your animation, then you're not really getting off any attacks. Or maybe the first part of the sequence, because jab is a sequence attack, so normally if you start the sequence it'll finish regardless, like it's just going to go through the sequence, but your own dodge skill animation seems to be able to take precedent over the remainder of the sequence. But things like FHR or anything like that won't. I could be misremembering a little bit from LOD days, but I'm almost positive on that. So phase two, I think phase two wasn't too bad. We'll see how it goes through, but you'll see what I mean. So you can hear the animations there, or the noise to dodge the spears. I took one right in the face. You should get out of these fire patches as well. Always kill that first skeleton as it comes up, because most likely he's just a few hits away from spawning Void Knights. There it goes. And you can if you get the Skelly out and the Void Knights, then it's kind of a problem. See, luckily there they just had Weaken on me, which is really great because, you know, I don't get decrept, which means you can kind of immediately kill the skeletons. Now, I will say, I'll go through the gear at the end, but yeah, it was a really quick one there. I am technically in a low damage version of this. No, low damage, everything's high damage with this, but I'm not doing any Deadly Strike, which I'll talk about later. So, focusing down the Fizz Knight is definitely key for me when I was doing my pluggy test as well, because I'm running 0 PDR, and getting hit by a Fizz Knight, and you're pretty much guaranteed to get one shot by a spell off of Rathma, so you kind of want to circle around and target him out. Obviously, if there's a Fire Knight or a Cold Knight on its own as you're circling, then that's worth taking out. You can see there, I was in the middle of the animation. I heard the spear, again there, I heard the spear, but I actually couldn't move. I just had to face tank it, so that's something you got to get used to. You'll see I just target it out, and then I'm going to move away. So hopefully they cast something else on me, which they did, and then you jump in. In phase 3, you don't really have as much luxury to wait for them to recast a curse, but in phase 2, there's almost no excuse. You can you have a lot of pots left for phase 2. You know, generally you'll keep the Poison Knights alive till the end, because they're only really doing the tick damage, so it's not really worth bursting them out before a Fire Knight. See, that's ideal play if I did the one jab, dodge spear, one jab, dodge spear, but again, there's a non-ideal. So you'll see there 16, 16 plus in the belt, so you could definitely overpot like crazy in this phase. I don't think it's going to be where your problem would be though. Problem is definitely always in phase 3 for most people. I guess I'll talk a little bit about the Deadly Strike topic. So what I think would be it's tough. We'll go through the crit versus Deadly Strike and all that, but using Grave Palms or Ghoul Hides definitely would be a good option. I just couldn't, honestly, get the right gear, and I didn't really want to wait any longer in terms of my res, because res is a bit of an issue. Stone Raven has really good res, but you don't have a shield or anything, and then I was a little bit limited on a few pieces, so what I would do is probably drop some charms for res charms, and then you could fit in the better gloves and belt. Because the classic is a Grave Palm with Nosferatu Coil, or Ghoul Hide, and a crafted belt would also work. But since you have native so you have a crit skill plus you have your crit passive, you're already getting above 50% on your crit. I think I'm at like 69% with this, so you could get higher with a few Deadly Strike, which is nice, but I don't know if it'll make or break it. It would be a good idea if you could fit it in, but it's nice to know that you have a few options. So as we get into phase 3 is pretty chaotic, I will say. I'll talk about a few things I do. I always focus down Mendel and listen for the spears like this. Just let the animation go. You have tons of damage. You want to stay close to Mendel so you never get hit by the sludge. Again, kill that first Conjuring Soul. I don't actually DPS. In Pluggy I always DPS here, but I don't DPS in that spot. Just because you just want to get that phase over with, because only a few hits later you're going to get the Knights out. And you don't want the Knights plus Mendel doing his shit, because you're just going to die. Yeah, so this is a bit of a chaotic one. You see, I am decrept, getting hit by basically everything here. But really, you got to get the knights down as fast as possible because you can't really get the knights down while staying near Mendel, and he's just going to be throwing out sludges, and you, you can't just dodge all of them. But once you're out of that, you need to stay close and listen to spears because you can dodge a lot of damage that way. You know, you might get some bad luck with these uh, cold waves, but that's just kind of how it is. Again, you see here, we got caged here, so I'm going to run around on the outside a little bit. Try to separate them a little bit from the knights. It's kind of a weird situation. I like Rathma further away than the knights. You kind of get some weird spears that way, but you don't get instant damage. You have time to actually heal from a knight damage before the spear hits you. When he's this close to you, you're just going to get almost double hit by a knight plus, um, one of his crazy combos like that. So it's a bit sketchy. You'll see here, I'm just kind of trying to get my bearings because I'm just getting hit by so many sludges, but I want to get this soul down. So now that that's done, I'm feeling okay on the pots. I got a little bit lucky on the sludge. The good thing about the sludge now, I mean, it does insane damage, but it'll never kill you outright. However, it'll get you down to 1 HP. And if there's any tick damage on the floor, like the soul or a spear or any other poison dot even, you can die. So to keep note, it's always good to pot right when you get hit by the sludge as opposed to right before you get hit by the sludge, if that kind of makes sense. So here, I didn't go for the physical knight first just because I saw these two fire guys out on their own and they do good chunk damage. So getting them away gets, that additional chunk damage gone, but it also reduces, additional curses that they're going to be throwing at you, like sources of curses. Now I wanted to get that physical knight down out of the way because that was a bit close. And you see here I have about a belt, but I kind of know at this point you kind of know it's over because you can see in phase 1 and phase 3 the bosses are really the easiest part. Like you do so much damage so quickly that I had a huge lag spike there. I was pretty terrified that I was going to die, but luckily I didn't. And yeah, there it goes. So you don't really, if you get through the third night phase, you probably only need like 3 or 4 pots, and you can do it. Yeah, I was pretty happy there with Alright, so we were talking about this Pokemon together earlier today. He's helping me level and such, so I just hit 90 and kind of went for it. So yeah, I was talking with those guys today, so it's kind of great. So yeah, I didn't have a lot of pots left there, only 6 pots. Let's talk through a little bit of my gear as we go through. I'll just read BO so we can see it. 104 strength, so I am strength bugging my Andes. And we see here the Stone Raven, really nice EDIS. You want 168 IS I found. 125 is doable, but I liked 168 so you have a higher frames and you do a bit better during decrep. That's kind of why I went for that. So 165, you need a lot. I have 105 there, 30 on the Andes. Pretty nice PLR. It's only 25 on it, but it's nice. ED there. So there's some pieces could be quite a bit better on that, but you see here 30 on the glove. So that's kind of where you're getting the 30, 30, 105 to get me 170. I'm actually just using Jav Grand Charms. You could do ED Max and stuff too, but the Jav ones actually work quite nicely as well. So it's really nice that you can do a good mix and match. You do so much damage, you could probably drop quite a few charms for stats. So this is the Javelin Spear match I was talking about. So you get a 33% here. That's working separately than your 51% here. So it's 1 minus 0.41, minus 0.3 times each other. So you actually get about 69%. Penetrate here, so minus 31 target defense. That's halved on bosses, but that's what's getting me my AR up to that level. So yeah, that's the Pokemon. I'll put a snapshot of this in the video, but yeah, thanks. Cheers, everyone.